They say a man dies twice. Once when his heart stops, and again when his name is spoken for the last time. But what do you call a man whose name changes every time it's whispered? Last Tuesday, I was handed a file on a man named Julian Vane. A simple insurance claim. A house fire in a suburb that doesn't appear on most maps. No body was found, which usually means fraud. My job was to find the neighbors, the friends, the paper trail, to prove Julian Vane existed. I started with the people who knew him best. That was my first mistake. I sat with Mrs. Gable, his next-door neighbor, for 5 years. She described a giant, a red-haired Irishman who smelled of peppermint and tobacco. 10 minutes later, I met his co-worker, Marcus. He laughed when I mentioned the height. Julian, he said. The guy was 5'5" on a good day, balding, quiet as a mouse. By the time I reached his ex-fiancée, Sarah, the room felt cold. She didn't describe a giant or a mouse. She described a singer. Dark hair, average build, same house, same years, same man. 3 different ghosts. I went to the apartment. It was neutral, like a hotel room that had never been checked into. I found a driver's license tucked behind a baseboard. In the palm of my hand, the face was clear. Julian Vane, high cheekbones, gray eyes. But when I held it up to the mirror, the reflection was blank. Just a plastic card with a blur of beige where the head should be. I checked his digital footprint. This is where the physics of the world started to fray at the edges. I found his social media. On my phone, his profile said he was an architect. On my laptop, he was a retired sailor. When I refreshed the page, the name Julian Vane vanished entirely, replaced by a 404 error that seemed to vibrate on the screen. I realized then, Julian Vane wasn't a man. He was a placeholder, a glitch in the social fabric. He was whatever the person looking at him needed him to be. I drove to his birthplace, a town called Oakhaven. I found the doctor who delivered him, a man named Dr. Eris. He's 90 years old now, living in a house full of clocks that don't tick. I showed him the name. He didn't look at the paper. He looked at me with eyes that had seen the back of the sky. "You're looking for the static, aren't you?" he asked. He told me that every few generations the universe leaves a hole, a gap in the code. To prevent us from noticing the void, the world generates a person to fill it. They have no soul, no fixed height, no permanent face. They are the observed. As long as you don't look too closely, they function. They pay taxes. They buy groceries. They love people. But I was looking too closely, and the universe was starting to notice me back. I saw him yesterday. I was standing in a crowded subway station. I saw a man in a gray coat. He didn't have a face, not until I thought of the driver's license. As soon as the memory of the photo hit my mind, his features stretched into place. It looked painful, like wet clay being forced into a mold. He looked at me, not with anger, but with a terrible, hollow exhaustion. He whispered something. I didn't hear it with my ears. I felt it in my marrow. He said, "Stop defining me. You're making me real." And I wasn't meant to be real. I went home to write this report, but the ink is fading as I type. My notes are turning back into blank yellow pads. I called Sarah, the fiancée. She asked me who Julian was. She didn't remember the engagement. She didn't remember the fire. The hole is closing. I'm looking at my own reflection now. I'm trying to remember my father's face, my mother's middle name. But the more I try to pin down the details, the blurrier they get. I'm beginning to wonder if Julian wasn't the only placeholder. I'm beginning to wonder if the only reason I exist is because you are listening to this. Don't turn it off. If you stop thinking about me, where do I go?